We have a balloon sucker here.
It's Kathleen, come here. That's him.
What are you talking about? What is this from?
Look at that. You can't tell me that doesn't freak you out. That's an old John Lennon.
So Let Him Be wasn't originally going to be a feature film. It was going to be a little production that I was going to put up on the internet. And essentially I was using it as a tool to show people that I could make a movie, because my background was in advertising and the most I ever got to work with was 30 seconds. So I was going to make the movie, throw it up on the internet, and then kind of go from there. It was actually my co-producer Carol Wright and then Marty Cates who said, no, this is a feature film, and so we made a feature film.
Let's talk about Misha's eyes and the secrets that lie within. Check the stories from the boys in blue. It's a must that you meet them. Yeah, let's talk about all my life. That night the apple took a bite. I was there.
One of the very first people I cast in the movie was Mark Stacer, who plays Noel Snow. And there were a number of reasons for casting Mark. First of all is that he's such an incredible musician and an unbelievable talent. He's probably one of the world's best Lennon impersonators.
It's in a way like King Creole, that rock and roll says it all.
Well, I've always had a love for that sort of music. I mean, as a little kid, miming along to the songs on the radio or on the record player. And I've always carried it with me until one day I paused and said, you know, might be fun to do this on a lark. In front of the mirror it looked good. Now let's see how it plays in front of other people. Having asked to do a private party for a friend, and right then the reaction more or less gave credence to the fact that, I guess I could carry this on a bit further, and so it did. And then you go out and you play larger venues in front of a larger crowd, and it grows and grows and grows when you throw those things out to the universe. It comes back. Well, I got involved in Let Him Be early on when the producers contacted me through my website under the guise of auditioning for a potential private birthday party. And it appeared to me that they were kind of sussing me up.
The great thing with Mark was he owned so many items that John would have owned. His, the same guitar and amps and things like that. The band that you see in the movie, Nathan, John Cheeseman, who's the drummer. John is a tremendous musician, composer, arranger, and Michael Blazer. Michael's another incredible musician. These are all friends of mine, and so when I was putting the project together, long before I'd actually written a script or anything like that, I approached them and said, look, I'm making this movie and it involves a band and I want you guys to be in it.
Before the movie had life, it was all based in music. Peter gave me basic rough demos of what the songs would be, and it was my job to kind of arrange them and eventually, have a final song project that we could then use as a backtrack for a live band, which we would be filming in the future.
I can hear it. I got sound. Check.
Oh, that thing's not on. Or is it?
The camaraderie and the intimacy in recording the music in the Love Club studio, this small little homegrown place that we were, but creating, to me, these wonderful sounds.
It's in the way that you hear me, they're that real words you feel.
All right, so that's fine because I only actually needed the first two verses. We won't do it now, but we may have to re-record that. So, yeah.
I came from the 80s, so all my influences were like bands like Ozzy, Metallica, and Iron Maiden. So I said, Peter, are you sure I'm the guy to be doing this project? Because I really don't listen. I don't even own a Beatles album. He just said, do what you do, you know, play some of the things that you would play and make it sound like it's your own. And it wasn't until long after we finished recording all the songs that one of my students actually bought me a Beatles CD, and that was the first one that I owned, and that was like a couple years ago.
We're sort of constantly referencing a little bit that sort of era more than the Beatles themselves. It's more of that era and what they might have been influenced by.
So it's a kind of, you know, open type. So it's, and I kind of hear that, you know, in the background as a drone. You know? So it's all kind of open. So if we put that down, I think it will hold the whole thing together.
My background was probably more Beatle-centric, I guess. I grew up sort of listening to the Beatles, so it was a pleasure to work on this music, and an interesting thing to sort of put yourself in that sort of place.
The initial working on the musical soundtrack, I remember doing numerous take after take after take and the overdubs for the songs, but as they started to take shape, just this excitement and a welling of emotion that filled up.
The great thing with Mark was he had all of the facial characteristics and head shape and everything like that we could augment to make him look like a 65-year-old man. Sean Sampson, who did the makeup for us, did an incredible job. We had to do a live cast, and Mark was just amazing with that.
What a splendid time that was. Thank you very much. 2 hours with goop all over your face.
Goosebumps and all on your neck. I'll do that. I'll just fill it up with plaster.
Amazing.
Yeah, this is just a life cast taken from Mark, and we need the life cast to sculpt the appliances and make the appliances out of gelatin and glycerin, standard prosthetic material. Then what you end up with is a nice flesh-like appliance. It's translucent like real skin, but once it's glued on, it just takes regular makeup like his face, and that's it.
Sean, once he had the live cast, then went away and started making all the various prosthetics that are applied to Mark to make him look the way he does.
Looks amazing, man.
You got to get that pimple going.
Yeah. Listen, if you can age him 25 years, could you take 25 off me? You know, can we do that? Can we do something like that? Is it? Does it feel comfortable?
It's okay. The only thing is, I think when the wig is under here, it's pulling in my hair, and it's a little uncomfortable, but I can live with it.
Profile-wise and everything, I think he looks amazing. The eyes look great as well. Now the thing is, the reason why we have to put tints on him is that he had brown eyes, and of course Mark's got blue.
But that's not a tough fix, is it?
No, it's not a tough fix, but I'm saying is that, you know, when we're in the house and we're doing him and he's got his normal glass on, we're not going to be tight on him, right. So we can get away with this, but when we're doing the band and that, we need to be tinted.
Right. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Let's talk about Misha's eyes and the secrets that lie within.
I decided to do a test shoot with Mark, primarily to try out his makeup, and we had various wigs and outfits that we wanted to see, you know, what he would look like. And so what I did was I rented a local church hall, and I put the guys together in the hall, and we just shot a whole bunch of performance stuff there.
Did anybody photocopy the lyrics, or do we just have the one copy?
We just have heroes of each.
Where's the props guy?
We need to send
Is he working the camera now, the props guy? Should we run this a few more times for you, all the songs?
Maybe just a titch more. I don't want to, you know, kill myself.
Yeah. You don't need to play the bass drum or anything like that.
Right.
You know, and
it's just it feels weird not to.
So. Oh, I see. Okay, well then play it.
I was there. I was there.
That very early footage really was very inspiring to all of us, and it turned out great.
Go, let's have a listen. What do you think? All right.
The driving motivation in the movie for Tim's character to kind of investigate whether this old man is in fact John Lennon is he finds a website that has some animation based upon all the data at the crime scene of Lennon's assassination. And I'm a great believer that Mark David Chapman did not shoot John Lennon. If anybody was to go in and literally study all the different elements at the crime scene, the bullet holes in the recessed doorway that no one ever talks about, and John's actual wounds, they would see that it was impossible for Mark David Chapman to have shot him. And the animation shows you why. My sense of how the Beatles were is that from the very beginning they always had roadies and assistants and all that kind of thing. And in my mind, this old man would have a kind of roadie type guy. I wanted somebody from Liverpool, and so what I did was I Googled kind of Liverpool, Toronto, and up pops the Liverpool Football Club Supporters Club of Toronto.
Initially, I was contacted by Peter McNamee, the director of the movie at the time, and I still am the vice president of the Liverpool FC Supporters Club here in Toronto. I had this telephone call one day and I thought, why is this gentleman phoning me? What is this all about? And Peter introduced himself. He had mentioned that he was involved in some kind of a radio documentary and he'd like to talk to me about it, and would you be interested? And I said, certainly, I definitely will be interested. And then we had a meeting at my house and he said to me, you know, Graham, he said, I'm going to make a movie and I want you in it. And I said, oh my God, because I'd never acted before in my life. And when I mentioned this to Peter, he said to me, hey, I've never made a movie in my life.
A lot of people don't realize there's really only 4 professional actors in the movie. The 2 leads, Kathleen Monroe and Sean Clement. And then there's Ross Feldman, who plays Dot in the convenience store, and Heather Allen, who plays Barbara Bacon. They're the only real professional actors in the entire movie. Everybody else are just regular guys.
It's just a simple town. I played in a few bands. I like music.
Peter had said to me, okay, so this is the music and you're playing all these guitars. Now you're going to be this character in the movie. So a little bit of a shock because I wasn't expecting to be part of the movie in that way. I was more expecting to be, you know, behind the scenes. And Peter said, you know, I just want you to be you. You're going to be you.
I got a customer that if things get tight, he helps me out. He gets vintage guitars from me and shit like that. Can I say shit? Sorry.
When I was casting the movie, improvisation was very, very important to me with all the actors, because as much as we had the script, I wanted them to inject their own personality into the characters.
So you've got, it's a problematic scene because you've got conflict on one hand, you know, with the boyfriend saying, you know, film him. So you're trying to convince yourself, I think, at the same time you're trying to convince him.
Listen, I mean, with this kind of footage and the stuff that we have, this could make our lives. This could change our lives.
What about his life,
change
Tim?
your life.
Tim, change my life? Tim, this isn't why I went into this. This isn't what I was doing. I went to film school to change my life. I went to film school because this is what I want to do. I didn't go to expose a man who's worked years to build the life that he has.
The movie was shot all from the perspective and within the realms of this young film student. And so it was important for me in the production style that we stuck to that kind of criteria. I didn't want perfect shots in focus and all of that. I wanted it to be from his world and within his realm.
After graduation, I began working on this idea I had for a reality TV show shot entirely with hidden cameras. To test them out, I put them everywhere. 3 in our van, 4 in our apartment.
This is fantastic.
Come on, this is narcissistic. I mean, you have like, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 cameras.
One of the major challenges with shooting this movie was the fact that we shot on all these different formats, because Tim's character was this film student and he would literally use any camera that he can get his hands on. And so we were shooting HD, mini DV, regular DV, digital 8. For example, you know, we had the small mini DV cameras in the van, and then we had the hat cam, that was another camera. And at the very end, all of this had to be compiled and up-res to high def. And that was a challenge in itself.
My plan was to document the whole story so that no one could question or doubt what I had found. I went to see my cousin Tony for some additional gear. Who knows what I was going to be getting into? He had a business selling customized surveillance equipment.
So my background is modifying cameras and modifying electronic circuits and designing electronic circuits. So Peter came to me with his project, And he wanted to know whether we could bug a home with several wireless cameras, transmit to a receiver, and record that off-site. And I said, yeah, sure, it's possible. The technology's here. Several years ago, I built a transmitter like this that can go more than 300 feet, and you grab a small camera like that, and you marry the two together, and you have the basics for doing what Peter wanted to do. Peter says, great, now I want to write you into the movie as Cousin Tony. He said he's going to use me as a character to be the guy that designs and builds this electronic surveillance stuff. I'm not an actor, but that's how we came to do that project. Got this just for you, the hat cam.
The hat cam, nice.
Say hi to Mom.
We shot with multiple cameras. At any one time, there were 2, if not 3, if not 4 cameras rolling on the one scene. So it wasn't a typical set because of all these different cameras. We may have a 2-minute scene that in the improv stage could run for 3, 4, 5 minutes. But it was very easy for me because I had all these different cameras to be able to cut it to exactly how I wanted it to be.
For all we have to suffer, you can thank W.
I don't consider myself an actor by any stretch of the imagination. So all this was rather new, stepping in front of the cameras. Luckily, I was able to extemporate and put a little bit of myself into it, especially with some scenes with Graham Wignall and I, Stanley and Noel getting into it. Just said, let her roll, go ahead, boys.
It's not being dead that's the problem, mate, it's the dying part. You know what, I've seen you in pain many times, and you're no bloody good at it, Noel. You're no bloody good. Peter said to me, you know what, Graham, he said, just put yourself in Stanley's position. You were really the guy that looks after him. Just imagine that this is for real. And so what I started to do then is just started to ad-lib. I throw in a lot of Liverpool colloquialisms.
Now fuck off before I knock 7 kinds of shite out of you. All right. Come on, now fuck off.
When I realized that I could let myself go like that, it became more exciting. And I think Peter seemed to be quite happy with what I was doing, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Where does the time fly for you?
Well, you see, when you have a clock, that's when you throw it out the window.
Sarah, who plays Barbara Baker's daughter in the movie, you see her in the children's birthday party footage that Noel is playing at when she was 4. That's Sarah's 4th birthday party. I used her in the test footage and she was 9 there. And then you see her in the movie and she is 11 years of age. She was really an amazing actress. Again, never acted before in her life, and I just gave her the premise of the scene and she went and did it, and she was incredible.
Hey, it's kind of busy. Oh, we used to have a camera like that, except I was stolen on holiday.
As I used to say to everybody, that, you know, the script is the map, but it certainly isn't the journey. It was just amazing. I'd listen to what they're doing and see what they're doing, and it was way more than what was written on the page.
I can't stop thinking about that poor woman and her daughter. They have a life with this man.
Obviously, he doesn't care that much about it, or he would, you know. It's not your fault. It's not your thing. It's her problem.
I just hate this.